and welcome to another episode of Jaxon Talks. Everybody, I'm your host, Jaxon Stone, and we are here for episode number 90. Wow, 90 episodes. That's pretty cool. If you're new to the podcast, thanks for tuning in for the first time. After I get through this intro, which won't be very long, we'll get to my super cool, unique, awesome guest. But yeah, this is episode 90. If you're a returning listener, you've listened to all episodes or a majority of them, thank you so much for coming back every single Tuesday. Like, it really means a lot to me. This podcast is one of the most important things I do in my life, having conversations with people that I find interesting and trying to dive deeper into those conversations to create meaningful connections. And that's the basis of my guest here. We've definitely created a super meaningful connection over the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 months. But let me introduce my guest. Her name is Hadley, and here's a quick rundown of her bio, but it doesn't really encapsulate the full picture of who she is, what she's about, the journey she's on, and the things we're going to talk about. She wrote down this really cool, if you're watching this via YouTube, you can see it. If not, I would go to YouTube and check it out. But there's this map of kind of things she wants to discuss here on the pod, just based on the one question she knew I was going to ask her, which I'm about to ask in a second after I introduce her. So Hadley is an entrepreneur at heart. She has a passion for inventions, innovations, and inspiration. Originally from New York City, she studied social entrepreneurship in college, creating connection between business and sociology. She seeks to constantly ask, how can business make positive social impact in the world? Very, very important question. She currently works as a sales account manager for the largest semiconductor equipment company, but is gearing up for a big career change. We'll miss you in Dallas, but we're excited for you. With journals filled of inventions and ideas, her goal is to start her own company one day to create her own positive impact on people and the planet. Welcome to the show, Hadley.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I've been looking forward to it.
You said right before we started recording that you've been listening to me talk all day.
I have. I've been prepping myself, so now I get to listen to you and myself.
Which episodes did you listen to?
I was listening to your one on sex, porn, and relationships.
Beautiful, very popular episode.
Yes, it was great. So I feel inspired by your previous talks with some other folks and just some of the topics. And yeah, I'm ready to go.
Ready to go. Okay, let's get into the first question. The first question, very, 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 very important question. It's the theme of this podcast, and the question is super important. I think we, me, everyone gets asked this question regularly, but it's used more as a hello than as a introspective, deep, serious question. And sometimes it can be used in that manner. We don't have time or space or room to answer that question fully, which is okay. But if we can start to lean towards answering more honestly and openly and vulnerably, which I think you do very courageously in all areas of your life, which we'll get into. But the question is, which how are you doing? For real. How are you?
Yeah, so I've been, honestly, I've been thinking about this question since you asked me to be on your podcast, which has been, a week, maybe 2?
Yeah.
Maybe longer. And I find it kind of interesting, but also a little bit sad that we don't really know how to answer this question.
Right.
So I was thinking about it quite a bit, and it's if you think about it, it's not really an easy question to answer, although we're asked it probably several times, almost every single day. Mm-hmm. And usually our answer is, I'm okay, I'm good, I'm fine, how are you? Like you said. And so I started to think about how other people in other countries and cultures also answer this question. And I think a story that really I felt super inspired by was when my sister was abroad. She went abroad for a study abroad in college to Rwanda. And they ask this question as well, how are you, as a greeting. And the answer that people respond with is always the same. No matter how they actually are, they always answer it the same exact way, which is, I'm alive. That's what it translates to. And so I think I felt inspired by that, especially today, because I told you I kind of hurt my back, so I'm a little stiff.
Yeah.
And if you ever have back pain, it's really horrible. So I was in a lot of pain last night, but I woke up and I was trying to take some deep breaths. And I thought to myself, I think that's the best way to answer that question is I'm alive. And it's such a gift to be alive. And it's also a gift usually people aren't in pain, and that's a gift. And so anyway, the answer to your question is yes, I'm very grateful that I'm alive, and that's how I'm doing. But more in depth is, as I wrote in kind of this map of myself, kind of in your everybody land, is that I think you've caught me at an interesting time because I'm on a journey. And I'm on a journey of, I think, personal discovery and also like self-improvement. And so I don't know like why it's happening to me now, maybe because I'm a 20-something-year-old and it's just kind of the time and place. But I think this is kind of an important moment, important chapter in my life where I am really focused on being the best person, partner, and parent that I can be. So I kind of, was writing and thinking a lot about my intentions of this journey and the things that I want to kind of touch upon and discover about myself as I approach this next like chapter of my life, which would be a career change, a location change, a move, and to focus on things that I think I haven't really focused on previously. So it's an exciting time, but I think I'm busy, I'm happy, I'm feeling very grateful. And that's kind of, in summary, how I'm doing.
That's a great answer. Well done.
Thank you.
No, super good. I have 2 points that I'd like to expand on.
Okay.
One being is that I talk a lot about self-improvement on this podcast. And self-improvement or personal development or human growth, however you want to put it, can be an interesting subject, right? Because I think a lot of people fall into the trap of like, reading the right books or listening to the right podcasts or doing whatever they're doing, having this internal dialogue and knowing that they need to make some sort of altercation change in their life, and then consuming a lot of things, because that's what our culture is predicated on, consuming things. But then we don't move into action, right? It doesn't matter how much stuff you consume if you're not moving that into action. And I think that's where some people, I won't say all people, but some people get stuck, is they feel that slight bit of, what's the word? Maybe they get like a quick dopamine hit from like consuming some of these things. They feel like they're on the right trajectory, and then they don't move into action, right? You want to go from theory to practice to action, right? Those are the 3 steps you can take when kind of consuming this type of stuff. And since I met you, we met at Halloween, which wasn't that long ago. We're recording this episode on February 28th. It'll drop about 4 weeks from now, so sometime in March. But when I met you in Halloween, we didn't really get a chance to talk, but my girlfriend was friends with you already, and she talked about how lovely and kind and nice you were and authentic you were, and I found those things to be very true. But then we had a Friendsgiving at her apartment, and we had like a 15-minute conversation, and I instantly knew what she said and what you now I've grown to know about you is true, that you are on a journey, but you have moved from theory to practice to action. And so how did you make that step? Like, how did you actually start to apply these things in your life more than just like reading about them? You're like trying to be about it. So was there like a flip the switch kind of thing, or just were like, if I'm gonna read this, I'm gonna do it?
Well, I think it does start with being introspective, which you have said in your podcast, as I know, because I listened to them all today. So I think I'm just inherently a very introspective person. And so I've been journaling since I was like 7 years old, and I have all of my journals around my house, and there's many of them, and in my parents' house and things like that. So I think it helps to be introspective, reflective, and to be able to like pause and slow down and really listen to yourself. Ask yourself the question, like, how are you? Right. Like, how am I? But also, who am I? Like, who do I want to be? Like, who am I right now? But who do I want to be? And are my actions, do they, are they the same as who I want to be? And I think, your actions are how you present yourself in the world through your actions is how people see you, right? So you have to be like really intentional about that. But I think just like being able to write a lot has helped me tremendously, but also be able to surround myself with people who are, kind, good people, but also people who push me to be the best version of myself that I can be. And that comes in friendships, but also comes in, I think some people refer to it as like weak ties. Like when I meet somebody like amazing sitting on an airplane, for example, like I met this woman on a plane who was a rocket ship consultant.
Whoa.
And like, yeah, you never know like who people are. Like everybody does like cool stuff.
For sure.
I mean, some people are kind of boring, but everybody has like something like interesting and unique about them. And so like every single person you sit next to or you see like has something that they can kind of like offer you in your life, if it's like a lesson or like a point of just like inspiration for you. So I don't know. I think now, like as I kind of approach 30 in the next couple of years, I won't give out my age, but I know.
Well, I'm turning 30 in June.
Right.
And
so
I can tell you
can
that
kind of agree.
Everything gets better with age.
Yeah.
If you treat it as such.
Right.
Right? If you take care of yourself, mind, body, and soul, you start learning more. There's more different experiences that you can grab from. You meet people, you start creating actual connections because you know what you want now. So that's a tangent I won't go on yet, but keep going.
No, but I agree with you. So I think I'm just kind of I don't know, like waking myself up a little bit. Not that I wasn't before, but I just think now I'm taking the time and energy to really, really focus on myself and like push myself to be the best version of me that I can be. And, I think I had like a lot of, fun and like adventures like in my early 20s, and I was always trying to learn and grow and be the best person. But I think now it's just like more prevalent than ever. And I think it's partially because of, I think maybe like living away from home and like having different friends. And, when you move to a new city, you almost like are reinventing yourself, where you're like, well, like, who do I want to be now? Like, and what does that look like? And so I've had to do that quite a few times because I've moved quite a few times in my life, and in the past couple of years, especially I moved to a different country as well. So I think when you do that, when you step out of your comfort zone, it makes you, I think, grow more than ever, when you step out of what's comfortable and what's familiar to you. Because discomfort, I think, is the best way to push yourself to grow. So I'm there, but I think I do kind of want to focus more on like maybe adult quote unquote things as I approach my like early 30s, which would be like maybe, settling down and be like really, really ready for a partner, to be like the best partner I can be, but also to like maybe have a kid like before I'm maybe like mid 30s or somewhere around there.
Right.
And I think it's selfish to have a child unless you truly believe that you are pretty close to the best version of yourself that you can be.
Right.
And of course, we're always improving and growing and learning throughout our whole life. And, I'd hope that would never stop. But I just think I want to kind of start now, to like be on that journey and be like, not tough with myself, but I think critical to the point where I need to like check in on a daily basis of being like, what else can I do? Or should I surround myself with this person? Are they really, making me the best version of myself? Or do they understand like what my priorities are and are helping me kind of like get to that place? So I've just been asking myself a lot of these questions.
Yeah. When you said you started journaling at 7, which is a beautiful age to start journaling. I encourage anyone to start journaling. Really, it's one of the most powerful tools for, growth, improvement, and also just your mental health in general. But was somebody in your life when you were younger like embodying some of these characteristics that you now have, or was it just something that you adapted and grew towards or wanted to be? Or were your like parents or siblings or close friends or family members, were they like introspective? Did they introduce journaling to you? Like, why was that a practice that you started, or why
it's a good
is
question.
It now?
I think I drew from it a little bit of a lot of people. So I think though, jumping back, like my dad always told me that I should journal. Because I don't really know why. He just really encouraged it, where he said that, you should kind of document your life and how you feel. And you could look back on it when you're old and you have your whole life in these pages, which I thought was really cool. So he always encouraged me to journal, and he was always kind of my like biggest like champion, like cheerleader, that like I am and was really special. And he's like, you have so much purpose in this world, and like never forget that. And like you're so important that your time, is so valuable. So don't waste it on things like drugs or like hanging out with the wrong crowd or like being in dangerous situations or like hanging out with just people who are kind of broken. And like, you don't have time to like fix everybody. You don't have time to like surround yourself with like bad things because you're too important and you have like a duty being like on this earth. And so I think when someone tells you that when you're like a kid,
right,
like 5 years old or something, you're like, whoa, like I have purpose here. Like I'm important. And like if someone believes in you so much, it makes you believe in yourself. So I think that's like a beautiful thing that a parent can do. And so I think that's what kind of, I think started that for me. Like I knew that I wanted to be, and I was kind of purposeful and needed to do something important in the world, and tried to like really, really listen at a young age to like what I felt like my calling could be and what kind of innate gifts I had that could be like valuable towards other people in the world. But I think my mom also inspired me kind of in a different way, where she is a lot more, I think like hands off, like really, promotes like independence. So growing up in Manhattan, we had a lot of independence. And so I just think, she kind of took things like a little bit at a tougher perspective, where I was nervous about something. She's like, why would you ever be nervous? Like, you're super tough. You can do anything. And in like a encouraging way, but in a way where it's like, my expectation for you is to be like a good person and do amazing things. And you'll disappoint me if you do anything less. Kind of in like a little more, a firmer way. Yeah. So I think, having very different like parents, I kind of have like a split family with like step parents too. And just having a lot of different people be like important influences to me. And I think like, even though I did have like a split family of like divorce, like a lot of divorce and remarriages, and I'm like one of 6 siblings, like a lot of people, I just like look back, I think, on my childhood too, and just, it was so, so full of love. And I think that you don't have to have like this like picture family where like, people stay together and aren't divorced or anything, like for it to be really happy. I think as long as it's full of love and that people are being good influences to you in like different ways, then that's what matters. But also I wanted to mention too, my grandmother, who was also a really big influence to me. And it makes me really sad, like today and like currently, it makes me very sad because she is suffering from dementia, which some people might be able to relate to if they have a family member. But it's sad to like experience somebody who's so important to you and has such a beautiful mind, and that their mind is just like slipping away. Yeah. And they're like forgetting like a lot of things that you were like, how could you ever forget? Moments we had together, things like that. So when I was young, she, I think, really opened my perspective into like the world, and not really in a religious way, but maybe more in a spiritual way, that we were all kind of like made of light and we're all connected. And she taught me how to lucid dream and to do tarot cards and to like read palms and things like that. So she had a kind of more, I don't know what to call it, like free-spirited kind of spirituality. Yeah. But I think that also just kind of taught me how to be open to like connections like bigger than myself, or to see like small joys like around me. So she was a big influence as well. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So back to the second point I was going to make after your initial answer to my question was your 3 Ps that seem to be very important to you, which is being the best person, partner, and parent that you can be, right?
Yeah.
I like breaking things up into 3s. I think it's easy, not easy, that it's digestible, it's tangible, and it can kind of encompass multiple domains of your life, or all of the domains of your life. Like, I think I mentioned this to you before, and it's also episode number 85 of Jaxon Talks, everybody. But I break life into 3 parts: energy, work, and love. And you're trying to be the best version of yourself in each of those domains. And what does that look like? What behaviors is that? What kind of actions is that? How do you identify in those areas? So I think breaking things up into 3s is important, and it's cool that you have a 3 for you as well. So how did you come up with the person, partner and parent thing? And what are you doing about it right now?
Yeah. Well, I just think again, was just writing, and those things kind of just popped into my mind, and they happen to be illiterate, which is nice.
Yeah.
But I think I do, the person aspect is I want to be the best person for myself that I can be in terms of feeling proud and, writing down different maybe like adjectives and actions, like you said, like, you need to put these things into actions. Like, what does that look like for me as a person? And like looking back on my 20s, like what will that look like to make sure that I did these things to be proud of myself? And so I think for like a few, for example, is I'm really focused on my physical health. And so I've been exercising more, hence the back pain. Everybody have proper form when you weight lift. Very important. Make sure you stretch. Don't ever underestimate stretching. That's my advice. But I think, like I don't think I've ever felt like strong as I do now, like physically strong. So I think like when you take the time and the energy on your physical body, it does a lot of amazing things to your like mental health. Right. And so I'm kind of focused on again 3 things for me as like a person, which is like mental, or like mind, body, and then soul. And so I kind of have it like written up on my fridge, or as a reminder, like do something every single day for your mind, body, and your soul. So whether that's like going on a walk, that can be like for my body, like physical activity, but also for my mind, like stepping away from work. And I think, I work from home. And I think a lot of people work from home, and it's hard to separate like work and life when like they're all together, especially when you don't love your job so much. So, or at least your job gives you a lot of stress. It's hard to like get away from that when it's literally in your bedroom.
Right.
So, I've been focused on that a lot. Like, what can I do every day for my mind, body, and my soul? And we're here in Texas, and a lot of people are very Christian, and I don't really like to use labels so much, so I don't know if I would use that label for myself. But I do enjoy going to spaces where people can connect with each other on a spiritual level, and just kind of, it's amazing when you can go to any kind of religious space where people walk in being so just kind of receptive, like to receive something, like a connection, where like nobody's thinking about work, nobody's thinking about stress. Like maybe they come with like heavy things that they're carrying, or things that like is really weighing on them, but it's like a space where like everybody's coming with something. And I'm a firm believer of like, you should never live your life in any like sin or secret alone. Like you should always tell like at least one person, like somebody, because I think that can like really like, you can carry that like forever, and it can make your heart cold. So I think like I've been, for myself as a person, I've been trying to like find like connection, like people around me. I grew up, again, like I said, being very independent. So I think I, kind of came like out of college being like, I can do anything by myself. And I did. Like I traveled around Europe, and I lived in different countries like alone. Yeah. But like I didn't really have like a lot of friends. And so I think that's like something I'm focusing on now, is like when you move around so much, it's hard to have like friends that you can call on when you're like having a really bad day, or you get scared, and you I don't think anybody should like live their life alone. It's not saying you can't do it. That's great. Alone time is wonderful, but there's a difference of being alone and being lonely. So I've been thinking about that a lot, like surrounding myself with people, but also being like very careful about like who I'm spending my time with, because time is a gift. So you need to be have high standards, who you're giving that time to. But anyway, those are kind of things that I'm doing like for myself. I also have a really big trip coming up where I'm planning this summer to move out of Texas, move out of my apartment, and go backpacking alone. Yes, but I intend to make friends on the trip.
For sure.
Around Southeast Asia. So I think for me, like I want to give myself that gift of like an eye-opening trip to like see the world and like see different cultures and meet people, and like I'm kind of using it as a trip of like inspiration that I can take with me as I then plan to go on my next step, which would be to go to grad school. So there's a lot of things that I have that are very like me, like myself focused, which is like, this time now is like my remaining time of my Dallas chapter, then this big trip through Asia, then grad school, and then kind of I'll focus on like career and things like that. So that's kind of about me. But then about, I think, as a partner, is I think too, like I do have a partner who lives in a different state, in Boston, and we do plan to be together when I go to grad school. But for right now, I don't think that, or I know for a fact that I can't be the best partner that I can be at this moment, because I'm on this journey of self-discovery and self-improvement, that I'm almost like, metaphorically, I'm kind of like a plant, like in a case. And I need to like, I'm kind of like breaking away. My branches are kind of growing and squirming, and I need to like break out of the case in order to figure out like what kind of like big plant flower thing that I'm going to be, that I want to be. So we're kind of like, kind of like taking a break, because I know I have to kind of go on this journey in order to be like the best partner I can be. And I don't want there to be any like resentment, as I know that I'm not the best partner right now. And so anyway, I owe it to this person who you've met, who's really wonderful.
Very lovely person.
Yeah, to be the best partner to him. So
yeah, and I think he wants that for himself as well.
Yeah, he does.
And so in unison, that's what builds a quality relationship, right? Individual pursuits, right? Individually trying to aim to be the best person you can be by doing things that are valuable and meaningful to you, and then having some joint pursuits in the same kind of vein, and then building that together. Yeah, and so I think you guys are doing a good job.
Yeah. But I think too, I was very scared to take a break, because I know that this person is someone that I could spend the rest of my life with. But I think taking a break is not a bad thing, and one of my friends told me that. And I kind of realized, that's not a bad thing to take a break. You're not really being selfish. You're being like honest, of saying like, I don't want to cheat myself. I want to be honest and say, I need this time now to learn and grow and be the best version of myself I can be as a person, partner, and parent. So that brings me to my last P, which is to be the best parent I can be. And like I said, I think it's selfish not to strive for that. When you have a child. So one day I would like to have a child, whether to physically have one, adopt, maybe both. And so I think I need to, focus on myself as a person, as a partner, and then that'll the last piece would help to be the best parent I can be. So I've been reading kind of a lot of books and doing a lot of self-help, self-development things. Yeah. But and like I shared with you, I printed out the Wholehearted Parenting Manifesto by Brene Brown. Yeah. So I really love that, and it's something that I read a lot. It's from her book, Daring Greatly. And should we read a part of it?
If you want to. Yeah, I was going to read one, for sure.
Yeah. Well, my favorite part...
read your favorite one.
Yeah, is it's pretty long, so I won't read the whole thing, but it says, "Together we will cry and face fear and grief. And I will want to take away your pain, but instead I will sit with you and teach you how to feel it."
Beautiful.
Yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah, we're gonna end this episode whenever we finish with what I feel is the best one on here.
Good. Okay.
Even though they're all very magical and wise.
The viewers can wait then for the last one, because it's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you were thinking about these three things, person, partner, parent, was this a specific order you put them in because you think you need to be person comes first and then partner and then parent? Is that why you ordered it that way, or was it not as intentional as that?
It was not as intentional when I wrote it down, but when you think about it, like as I'm explaining it now, I think it does go in that order.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it has to. I think you need to, not need to, I don't like to use that word, are capable, that's a better word, of going on a journey of self-discovery to be the best version of you. As I like to say, right, we're just closing the gap every day, right? You're person A right now, showing up however you are, however your best is, you're showing up, whether there's some inadequacies, some things you might need to work on, or some things that you're doing amazing, whatever the case may be, is you're this person. And then up here, right, we have this like infinite potential, of being the best version of ourselves more consistently, right? Not all the time, every day, that's impossible, but doing whatever you can as the best of your ability each and every day is the best version of you, right? Infinitely potential. And every day we're just like closing the gap. And I think that's important to just try to strive to be 1% better,
Yeah,
each and every
absolutely.
day or every week or whatever you're capable of doing at the time of your life. And then if we start to put some rocks in that container, in like the person container, then we can also potentially at the same time put some rocks in having a partner or a relationship or a friendship or romantic, whatever the partner is that you in that. And so I think you have to have a little bit of rocks in the container in the person domain before you start to go into the partner domain. But then at some point you can interlock those things and you can work on them together with your person. But I think it's important to start the journey beforehand, so you're not taking everything that had maybe happened to you, experiences, circumstances, things previous, into someone else's life. You're constantly working on those things, aware of those things, conscious of what you might bring, be able to tell your partner that, and then having them be a guiding force as well. And so then that leads you to then having a child together, which is probably, the most difficult and most amazing thing that you can do in this world. And so I think the way you ordered it, whether intentional or not, worked out exactly how you wanted it to work out. And I think that's another example of, life and how things just kind of work out when you start to just write things down and move in that direction and, aim at stuff. It's quite beautiful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's circle back to this mind, body, and soul.
Okay.
That's like wildly important.
Yeah.
Like unbelievably important. If you can manage to do one thing every day for those three aspects of your life is critical. Critical to every area of your life. And when did you start thinking about your physical body and how important that was? Have you always had a good relationship with your body?
Yes, always. And I know that's kind of rare because I think I don't know if it's social media. I say to myself all the time, I'm so glad I didn't have social media in middle school or high school. I'm so glad. The first time I ever had, I had Facebook, I guess, in like high school, but we didn't really use it. You just kind of post something funny, like words, not so much photos, and there's just way less judgment. And I don't know if it's like I was just in a good school in New York City, or I was around good people. I feel very, very lucky with the way I grew up, because I look at it now, even with my 4 younger siblings.
Yeah.
And for both boys and girls, and those gender nonconforming, gender expression people, everybody, it is so difficult because you are constantly comparing yourself to things that aren't real. First of all, it's people's highlight reel, because a lot of people don't post when they feel like insecure or when they're hurt or when they're having a really bad day. Like they post about things that are like awesome and fabulous and amazing. And then also I have seen it firsthand that like almost everybody's picture is photoshopped. And I'm like, wait a minute. So you're comparing your own body against other people's bodies that, for the most part, are fake. So we could do a whole podcast just on that, because it drives me so crazy. Like when you have these young people who are going through puberty and like, coming into themselves as people, you should love yourself. You should love your body. Your body is what keeps you alive. And it's so nice if you like rub your belly or something in the day, and you just say like thank you for like digesting food for me. Like you rub your chest and your lungs and you're like thank you for breathing. Like that's the purpose of your body. The purpose of your body is not to like have a 6-pack and like a big booty and be like super tan all the time.
Right.
So anyway, but I do feel very grateful. I'm not sure why. If like I just maybe got lucky or was around good people or just didn't have the time. Maybe came back to like what my dad told me or something. I just was too important. My purpose was too important to sit around and feel like I hated my body. So I never really had issues with it. I mean, I think everybody has a little bit of like acne here and there, like when they're 13 in like 8th grade or something. Right. But yeah, for the most part, I've always been really, really confident. But I think now I exercise, not really to look a certain way, but just to feel a certain way. Yeah. And, growing up in Manhattan, I did experienced some, like, not gangs, but like you could say angry girls sometimes at recess. And I remember I went home after I got kind of smacked around, and my mom told me that I should fight back. And so she signed me and my sister up for karate lessons. And so since I was like really young, like doing a martial art like that, you want to feel strong and you want to feel like your body is powerful, which gave me confidence on the street. So I could walk anywhere and feel confident that I could protect myself if something bad were to happen, which I'm glad it never did. But, it gave me confidence that I could travel alone in any city in the world, which is cool because like my body could be a weapon if it needed to be. So, and you know this about me to this day, I'm very, into like jujitsu, and I think it's a really beautiful sport, and that everybody should have some form, a little bit of like self-defense, because it's important, and really, if anything, it just gives you confidence,
right,
to protect yourself, which is nice.
Yeah, I did a episode recently. I can't remember if it was episode 88 or 89, but either way, I interviewed my Krav Maga instructor. So I've been taking Krav Maga since September of last year, and it's basically the Israeli Defense Force. It's basically like how to defend yourself in the street or a bar fight if someone tries to attack you or rob you, right? Very practical self-defense. And for the same reason, people should attempt to try it to feel more secure and safe in their own body, so they can walk across the street, they can go out by themselves, and things of that nature. It also gives you, like, just like you're saying, like this internal sense of knowing that I'm capable of a lot of things. And people might have this argument that it might urge you to be more aggressive and fight more, but that's the opposite of what martial arts teaches you, right? It's about respect, serenity, harmonious, right? You're honoring your body by doing these things, somewhat like yoga. But then if something bad does happen, which we can't be naive and oblivious to the atrocities of the world, right? It's very important to know that bad things do happen, and they happen often, that we're able to potentially defend ourselves in those situations. And if it never comes up and you never use it, wonderful. But you've learned that practice, you've learned to respect an art form that's, gone back history books, and people have trained in this thing for a long time, and it's like very important. And so, yeah, Krav Maga has been a quite cool addition to my life.
Yeah.
And then I recently started jiu-jitsu as well as an addition to Krav Maga, and like, rolling around and learning some submissions. And again, I'm doing it more to like humble myself.
It's humbling.
to make sure that my ego doesn't get bigger. So I'm tapping out on a regular basis. I'm learning things that I've never done before. I'm rolling with people that are half my size, and they're just like destroying me. And it feels wonderful because I check my ego at the door, and then it allows me to check my ego everywhere else in life. And that is also a brilliant part of martial arts, because when you look at someone, you don't know what their background is, what their story is, right. And that can be in relation to their mental health, what they might be struggling with, what kind of things they're going through currently or they have gone through, or what their background is in sort of a fighting sense, like what they're capable of. And so you don't want to assume anything of anyone, right? You just want to try to get to know people and understand them, and treat people with kindness in that regard, because then situations are much better off. And so,
don't make assumptions, for
right.
sure. Yeah.
Right. I only make one assumption. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
My only assumption that I make is that people are doing the best they can.
That's a good
And that's
one.
made my life exponentially better.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is another assumption, but I said it on one of my previous podcasts. This was an assumption, but then I thought about it later. It's not really an assumption. It's more a fact that I think to be true. So I'll alter it here.
Okay.
But it still holds weight, is that every single person holds a deep intrinsic value.
Yes.
Right? That's not an assumption, but I said it was, but it's kind of just a fact. And then I just assume that everyone's doing the best they can. And those two things have made my life better. Even in very hostile, aggressive conversations where people don't agree with me, or they get mad at me, or for whatever reason, right? Just things happen. And so, so great. So that's good about your body. It's very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because off to your point of social media, like I coach a 13-year-old boys baseball team, and they're caught up in this as well.
Yeah.
Like sometimes if they have to like change their jerseys, like maybe they wore the wrong jersey to practice, they have to change in the dugout, or like they took off their undershirt because it got hot. Very self-conscious about their body, right? They're like pointing out if they have abs or don't, or what their side fat looks like, and what this might be. And I'm like, you guys are still developing and growing, and your body is changing rapidly at this age, and you're starting to work out a little bit, so you're going to see some different things happen there. And it's very challenging, and because they're dealing with that, they're dealing with how to make friends, social relationships, what may be going on at home. They're dealing with what they see on social media. They're also dealing with their own mental health. They're dealing with failure, rejection, COVID for the last 2 years. Should I wear a mask? Do I not wear a mask? Am I allowed to be close with my friends? Can I not? What's the uncertainty? What's the next step going to be? How am I going to handle all of this stuff? Like, absolutely enormous amounts of stress and pressure for 13-year-old people.
Right.
Who have never dealt with any of this. And as adults, we don't know what we're doing.
Right.
As adults, we were not taught how to handle this, how to have emotional agility, stability during uncertain times, just letting things happen and going with the flow, and then working and being diligent and intelligent with your practices so that you know that things are going to work out through those practices, but letting things just happen. And 13-year-olds don't know that because no one's teaching them that in school. Maybe their parents aren't aware of that, so they're not teaching them that at home. And so how are they supposed to handle these very complex, nuanced, brand new things? So yeah. It's very hard.
It's so hard. Yeah.
I work with a lot of young athletes in my mindset program, and I mean, sometimes we're not even talking about sports at this point. We're just talking about how to have this emotional agility and how to handle things that come at you, and
That's
what
important,
to do and what
like
to say
you
to
said.
yourself.
Yeah, nobody teaches you that.
Yeah.
So it's good to have people like you as like a mentor or a coach to at least give them some guidance.
Right.
But I wanted to make a point too about the body topic. Can we all just pause and acknowledge for a minute that standards of beauty change like every century?
Yeah.
So I just find it funny that if you don't look a certain way right now, that you're not considered hot or sexy or beautiful. And it's that's so interesting to me because it's if you think about it 100 years ago, maybe 200 years ago, but it's people who were seen as really, really big people, kind of overweight people, were seen as higher up in society because they had more money to afford more food. If you were skinny, you were seen as super low class and kind of an outcast or whatever because you were poor, you didn't have enough food to eat, and that's why you were skinny. So it's everybody wanted to be really, really big. And I think what everybody should want to be is really, really healthy.
Yeah.
I think people, you don't appreciate your health until it's gone, which to me is a problem. We should always appreciate our health. And that's why I circle back to you should say to yourself, wow, I'm alive. I'm alive right now. My body is keeping me alive. Therefore, I love my body.
Yeah.
And we're not taught that as 13-year-olds. And right now, every 13-year-old just goes on social media every single day and compares himself to Photoshop.
Right.
It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard. But at least for me and my personal journey about my body's been good. And I think I feel good and kind to myself when I'm eating healthy.
Right.
When I'm eating enough.
Yeah.
I think that's really important too.
Yeah, eating enough is very important.
Eating enough is important. I notice when I don't eat enough, I don't have enough energy, or I feel sick, or I get bloated or something. So I'm eat food, eat good food, eat when you're hungry, exercise, move. That's important. So
yeah, mind, body, soul.
Mind, body, soul. Yeah.
Heard it here, episode 90 from Hadley.
You can quote me on it.
Quote her on it. But also on social media, there are some really, got to give credit to some good accounts. There are some really good accounts that do a great job of highlighting how people can alter and change their body. There's one woman that I follow. Her name is Victoria Garrick. She played volleyball at USC, and she had a really brilliant TED Talk about the stressors and mental health of college athletes. But then she's gone on to have a very good career. She's our age or maybe a little bit younger. Or your age, maybe a little bit younger. I'm a little older than you. But now she has a large following on Instagram, and basically all of her posts are about either mental health or body positivity. And she has a few reels and posts about how you can quickly alter and change your body like that with a few swipes on Instagram. And she's very open about showing her cellulite and how she sits when your stomach rolls over. Everyone's when I'm sitting, my stomach is rolled over. It's
that happens to everybody.
It's super normal and natural and whatever, right? And so she's super open about that, and it's really quite a beautiful account.
That's awesome.
So I encourage people who want to see that kind of stuff, the real side, the actual authentic side of Instagram, to go and check that out. and then apply it in your own life. Like post real shit, post stuff that you want people to see, but also that you feel inclined to share because it's authentic to you and it's important to you. And I think that can make social media slightly better.
Yeah.
But off that topic of authenticity, that's something that I found very endearing about you, is how authentic you are. Especially, it really came to light at Friendsgiving when you were sharing like some stories about your life, and everyone was very entertained by your stories. You have a kind of like a magnetic energy to you.
Oh, thank you.
But they were just like very open, vulnerable stories, and you were willing to share them in front of people because that's who you are. And right now, I think one of the biggest detriments to people and human potential is FOPO, fear of other people's opinions.
Oh.
Fear of other people's opinions. I took that from Dr. Michael Gervais. He's a sports psychologist. He's amazing. Study a lot of his work. But is that something that you deal with as being someone who's very authentic? Have you always been this authentic? Is it something that you like are diligent about being every day, or what kind of process do you have with that?
Yeah. Well, I guess I've always pretty much been authentic.
Yeah.
But I think as I've gotten older, how do I explain this? Let me give an example. Mm-hmm. For those of you who know me, know that I really love my birthday. Who doesn't? Some people don't.
We had a great party here.
We had a great party in my apartment. I decorated the whole place pink. My favorite color. Only on my birthday, though.
Yeah.
When it's not my birthday, I don't love pink. But anyway, for some reason, I love pink on my birthday. But regardless, I think my favorite thing about birthdays is when everybody's singing to you and everyone's kind of like looking at you and you're...
Am I bleeding?
No. Are you good? You hurt yourself? Oh, do you need a tissue?
No, it's fine. We'll keep rolling. Go ahead.
He's fine. There's my words, They broke your soul.
Yeah.
You're good. I don't think you're bleeding. I think you're okay.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Anyways. Sorry to break your train of thought.
Oh, that's okay. It's about my birthday. I can jump right back into it. But don't make me talk about my birthday. Okay, fine, I will. But anyway, my favorite moment about birthdays is like when you're blowing out the candles and everyone's looking at you and everyone's smiling. And because you're happy, like you're giving people the gift of making them happy because they think that like they're making you happy, But really, like, does anyone really like to be sang to? It's kind of awkward. Like you're sitting there and people are just like singing to you.
Right.
So nobody really enjoys it, but it's like I get so happy because I know that by being happy, I'm making other people feel like they're making me happy, which makes them happy. Anyway.
So it's a beautiful cycle of happiness.
Yes, that's why I really like birthdays.
Yeah.
But in terms of authenticity, I like literally danced around the whole day and night in my multiple outfit changes, but I had this big pink tutu and took these like rainbow unicorn glow sticks to like a club, and we were like all dancing with my friends, and it was so much fun. But I was like looking around the room and I was like, you know what? I think this is like the best birthday I've ever had. Because I was surrounded by people who were so supportive of making sure that like, not making sure I was happy, but just like, I could just so totally be my authentic self. And if I wanted to dance in a tutu and have pink unicorn glow sticks, then like I did. And people were just smiling, like cheering me on. And I think I didn't really get that like on my 16th birthday, for example. Like I had like a sweet 16 where I had at my house, and like I remember I went all the way down to Wall Street to rent a chocolate fountain.
Yeah.
And I used my own like money, like babysitting money, and it was like $200. And I had to drag it. It was like so heavy. I put it on the subway, took it all the way home. And I was like so excited about it. But anyway, my friends came and they were like kind of like, I think a little judgy about like who was there and like if the popular girls were there, or like if the cute boy in school was there. And I just was like, whatever, man. Like I wanted to be like in my element and enjoy myself. So I think like as I've gotten older, all that to say is as I've gotten older, I think I just simply don't care like as much. Like if people, like I'm just going to be like my authentic self. And as long as I love myself, which I do, then like I don't see why like you wouldn't also love me. You know? And if people don't, or they don't want to be around me, then like, you know, I'm humble enough to say like, okay, maybe I said something wrong, or like I have something to work on, or maybe, you know, nobody's perfect. Like if I said something that came across the wrong way, like maybe my intention wasn't clear in that moment or something. But yeah, I just think like I'm now doing a better job of like surrounding myself with people that I vibe with a little bit more, and that I know I can be my authentic self around. But I think in order to be your authentic self, you have to know what your authentic self is.
Wow, what a point.
Yeah.
What a point.
Take notes, everybody.
That's very important.
Yeah, so I think I've done
Can you expand on that?
Through my journaling and things like that, like I do take a lot of time to like sit down with myself. And you know me, like I don't have a TV.
Man, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, I know.
I was gonna say that. Anyways, go ahead. I'll talk about it in a second.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were gonna call me out on it, so.
Not call you out. Congratulate you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I think I spend a lot of time, like, you know, whether it's at home or like at a cafe or in the park, like asking myself, like, who am I? Like, why do I deserve to live? Like, why am I here? Like, who do I want to be? Like, what is my purpose? And like, even if you just write down words, like what are the words that like define me as a person? And the best class I ever took, I think pretty much my whole life, was in college, and it was a class called Presenting a Brand Called Me by a wonderful professor named Paul Calhoun designed it. So shout out to him. But the class was all about like you yourself, you are a brand. So like if other companies like have brands and they're like promoting their brand and they have like a slogan or a mission statement, and like you know what they are, you know what they're about, and you can give like a few words. Like when you think about a brand, like you think about like, I don't know, your brand, like everybody brand.
Yeah.
Like you have a few words about it where you're like inclusion, like diversity, like love, like self-love, like connection. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so like I think I've taken the time and like the attention to ask myself like what are my words that like would describe my brand. And so I think if you like kind of write those out or like map them out or literally draw a map like of yourself or like of your brain, kind of like what I've done, you can kind of discover like who you are, like what it means to be authentic. Like what are the words that describe you? Like what is your brand? What are you made out of? And that kind of, then once you have that and you're looking at it, you can say, oh, I am an athlete. I am optimistic. I am a researcher of the good. Like I am a good friend.
Right.
And you're defining yourself and your identity. And then you can like, if you forget, you can like remind yourself about that list and say, oh yeah, like I am not a mean person. So like I shouldn't be hanging out with this person who like I have seen through their actions can be mean. Or, you know, I don't know, you can kind of like using that list, you can help like define and make very clear like actions for yourself. I think like through your actions you can say, oh wait, I'm not a smoker, so like why would I ever like take a cigarette? You know, so you're like holding yourself accountable to your like authenticity.
So you're saying that there's a self-discovery journey that needs to happen before you're able to show up authentically as yourself, because you're not sure who you might be if you haven't gone on that self-discovery journey yet.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah. And maybe there's a few aspects, right? Like maybe you grew up like in a suburb and played soccer and studied math. Great. Those are things that are about you.
Right.
Those are part of like your story. And I don't know. I think those things like kind of are items that like describe your story but don't like define your story.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, they're parts that are about you. Like I play baseball, I wrestle, right? I have a podcast.
Right.
I do speaking engagements. I'm a coach. All of those things are things that I do. But who I am is how I show up in the world.
Yes.
Like what virtues do I flourish through? Like what virtues or values do I embody? That if when I die and I'm in the grave and people are giving a eulogy about me, like what do they say that I stood for?
Whoa.
And that's a very good exercise to do. Like think about you're dead.
Yeah.
You're dead. You're dead. You're going to die. Everyone you love is going to die. Very important to understand that. So let's live life now because it's very precious and fragile. But think about what you want people to say about you.
Yeah.
Hadley was this. She showed up this way, right? Because we always want to give people their flowers when they're not here anymore. But we should give people their flowers now. Every single day that we can, every time we see them, because we don't know when the next time will be. But we should also do that for ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, encourage yourself along the way. Be proud of yourself for the step.
Yeah.
Oh, I showed up really fucking present and grounded today.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool and really hard. So let's, is that one of my virtues? Is that one of my virtues? I was really honest today. Cool. That's a virtue that I want to live by. What am I curious about? Ooh. Like, I went to this museum and like this turtle really stood out to me as one of the most unique creatures I saw. Maybe I should dive into turtles a little bit more. Cool, I'll watch a bunch of YouTube videos on it. I'll join a Facebook community. I'll go to this event that they're having at the Dallas Convention Center that's about turtles, and I'm going to meet 700 other people that really like turtles. Ooh, now I have this supportive community who can help me. Not just about turtles, but about anything. And there's just like a very small fraction of what potentially you could do if you start to get curious about who you want to be and who your potential can be. And that's the self-discovery journey, right? There's so many things on the internet now about self-help and personal development. They're kind of like buzzwords and people are trying to get likes and retweets about it. But if we really dive into the information and have it resonate with you and investigate it in your own life, it actually can work.
Yeah.
And I think you're a proven fact of that. I definitely am. I've been on a journey for at least the last 3 years. And so it's changed my life and also saved my life at the same time.
Yeah.
And so that's been powerful. But yeah, anyways, keep going. Unless I stopped your train of thought.
No, that's okay. I guess I was just listening. I don't know what I was going to say. I guess I did lose my train of thought a little. But no, I guess I was just thinking to myself now that I think I have, or I'm on a journey now, but I have kind of started to discover like what it makes me authentic. Like, what does it mean when I'm being authentic?
Right.
And so I think that's a great exercise, though, to ask yourself. Oh, I guess that's what I was going to say, to ask yourself, like, what would people say about me? What do I want people to say about me when I die?
It's very powerful.
When I was little, I remember I used to ask, like, my family, I said, can I have a funeral before I'm dead? Because I think what people would have to say would be, like, pretty nice things to hear. Like, I want to be around to hear them. I think people should be around to hear them. So I liked your point that you made about giving people their flowers, like, before they're dead.
Yeah.
Because I think you need to tell people like how you feel about them and in ways that they inspire you.
Right.
That way, and I see that all the time with celebrities too. Like when a celebrity dies, like I remember Betty White recently like passed away.
Yeah.
And everybody was saying all these amazing things about her. But I remember thinking to myself last year, like when she turned 90 or something, I guess she almost turned 100, something like that.
She was like 2 weeks away from turning 100 before she passed
But
away.
last year when she turned 99, I remember like, why don't they have like a big thing for Betty White so she can hear all these amazing things about her?
So people know how much she was loved
like,
and
they
cared
do all
for.
these like amazing things like after they pass away. And it like bothers me a little bit because the person isn't, maybe they're listening from up above or wherever, but they weren't really like there to have a, fun party and like hear what people have to say. So anyway, I do try to like embody that a little bit where I am very, I think, honest. It's kind of my word of the year is like truth and honesty, being like honest with myself, who I am, how I feel, but also honest towards others about how they make me feel. And sometimes that's not good. Sometimes it's not a flower that I'm giving people where I say, I'll meet somebody or be hanging out with them and I'm like, you make me feel like bad in this way, or I felt like that comment was like judgmental towards somebody. And I think giving people feedback, if your intent is not to be mean, but to make that person like a better person, to say, hey, like, because I would want that feedback if somebody says like, whatever you said came across as mean or something. I think your intention is really important. So I try to do that, like give people feedback and be receptive of it as well. But I think that also I try to help hold my friends accountable to their authenticity.
Yeah.
So when they are kind of presenting themselves towards me, and like I have like a friend, for example, who, is like wants to like find it, for example, wants to find like a serious relationship. But then like I see him like, going on a lot of dates and like kind of fooling around and like hanging out with people who he definitely doesn't have the same kind of non-negotiables or like priorities or values as. I call him out on it
Right.
as a friend, because like, you know, we would do that to each other, like call each other out on things that aren't aligned with like who we are as people and what our priorities are. So I think it's really important to surround yourself with people who can hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You definitely have to go on this like self-discovery journey before you can show up as your authentic self and figure
Yeah.
out who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very important. Yeah, and then just like you said, right, surrounding people who encourage that in you
Right. Right.
and hold you accountable to when you're not doing such.
But I don't want people to think that they shouldn't, even though they maybe haven't fully discovered who they are, who they want to be, and how they want to present themselves or their personal brand. They haven't fully like mastered that. You should still be authentic in terms of being genuine and like being your genuine self. Because one thing I learned recently is people can't truly love you for you unless they know you, like really know you. So that's why I think it's important to open up to people about like your sins or your secrets. Like maybe not everybody, you know, pick a person and like maybe share a few things, but to connect with people on a level where like you can receive that love for being like your true self. And that will in turn help you discover your authenticity and your personal brand. The only way I think that you can truly get to that point of like knowing it, knowing your personal brand, knowing what makes you authentic, is when you are being vulnerable and when you're being open with people and like, you know, expressing like your true self and how you feel and things that maybe you feel afraid about or worried about, or you know, that's what makes connection. So
Absolutely, that's what makes connections. Yeah, very, very good point. Right, self-discovery is a never-ending journey.
yeah.
Right, no matter where you are in life, whether you're 7 years old, 12 years old, or 75 years old, you have life experiences. You have things that your gut and your heart is telling you that you should follow, the things that you're a bit curious about. Maybe you're an older person, you've ignored those kind of things because of whatever's happened in your life and things haven't gone the way that you wanted them to, but it's never too late to make the initial step towards that discovery. And it really starts with journaling. It starts with journaling. And if you ask yourself, there's a bunch of questions you can ask yourself to start writing things down. But one big rock you want to get into the container is write down the question of, you know, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? Where is it? Write it down. Write down if everything were to go like 95% right, where would you be? Okay, now start mapping out some very small, minute goals that would lead you toward that thing. It's not going to end up exactly there because life is a twisty, windy road and things are going to happen. There's going to be setbacks, inevitable pain and suffering and whatever. But things are generally going to go well if you start making those incremental steps that way. And then you can, underneath that, write down what you're curious about and write 25 things that you're curious about, or 20 things, or 5 things that you're curious about. And then you can ask yourself, what do I know that I could be doing every day that would make my life better? Start doing it every day, one thing. And what is one thing that I could stop doing every day that would make my life better? There's four questions and a place you can start, an actual concrete place that you can start, and then you can start leading towards that in your life. And then there's a lot more work to be done, but we have to have a practical starting point because everything is very daunting and seems overwhelming. Like, oh my God, who am I? It's like an existential crisis.
Right.
And it can be, but it's not if you break it down into smaller nuggets and then reduce it to the smallest step that you will actually take today and then build from there. And those 4 questions are a good place to start. Answer one of them, all 4 of them, whatever you're feeling. And then you can start to show up genuinely and authentically and open yourself up to people and create deeper relationships and have vulnerabilities. And when failure and rejection and heartbreak comes into your life, it won't be this soul-crushing event. It will suck and it will hurt and it will be really hard, of course. But you'll be able to pick yourself up a little bit better because you know who you are, you know what you're looking for, and you know what you want to bring into your life, and you're attracting that more often than not.
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
Definitely.
But there's a few things on this on the sheet that you wrote because we're on the kind of the truth, honesty, and authenticity portion of this mind map. And when you were talking about some feedback that you give your friends and being honest with them when they might not be showing up the way that they said they wanted to show up, they're not embodying some of these characteristics. I thought of this thing that you wrote here, which is being clear is being kind. Would you like to go in on that a little bit?
Sure. I'm laughing because I say this probably almost every day to a lot of my friends here.
Yeah.
And again, I think my word of the year is truth and honesty.
Yeah.
So it was funny when I first moved to Dallas, people would tell me a lot, you're really blunt. And I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, you're not like aggressive, but you're just like very like forward. Like you just kind of say it how it is. And I thought that was interesting feedback that people, were giving me.
Yeah.
Because I never really got that, from New York City. And then before this, I was living in like France. We're talk about blunt. People are very blunt there. Yeah. So when I came to Dallas, I was getting that feedback a lot, but it wasn't a bad thing. I appreciated the feedback, but I was like, I enjoy being blunt because I'm being like very honest. Like I'm just like stating where I'm at and how I'm feeling. So I've been like saying a lot that being clear is being kind. And I say that to my friends quite a bit too, because I don't know if it's like a Southern thing or like just some people are a little bit more like beating around the bush. And I don't think being nice like is being kind. Like you can be like nice to somebody and that's great, but if you're not being honest with them, it's confusing and then they can't trust you. And I'd rather have somebody trust me and respect me and know my intention than to think I'm just like a kind, friendly person, So like I've met like a few friends here, like randomly like at a cafe or something. I'm like, oh, like you're really cool. Like we seem like we have like some mutual interests. Like maybe we should grab a coffee. Like, would you want to do that? And like, it's mostly girls usually. And they're like, yeah, like that sounds great. Like totally, like I'll text you. And then I never hear from them. I'm like, that's so confusing to me because like, at least on the East Coast, like you would never say you were going to do something unless you were actually going to do it. And like, then you like have to do it because you said you were going to. So I think just like, and that gives people trust in you and like, it shows accountability and they can like have faith in you and like through your actions, but also through your words. So anyway, I genuinely believe that being clear is being kind. And I much rather have somebody tell me that they, don't really like my new haircut as opposed to saying that it's great just to like be nice, And I think it's like situational, like there's a time and place, but especially when it comes to like friendships, any kind of relationships, romantic relationships, things like that, being clear about like what your intention is and how you're feeling is far better than just being nice.
Yeah. It boils down to this one thing, right? Truth in service of love.
Truth in service of love. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You want to have the most adventurous life? I've told you this before, right? You want to live the most adventurous life possible. The most adventurous life, right? Everyone aims to do that, right? An amazing, adventurous life. You want that? It sounds awesome, right? You know how to do it? It only takes one thing. Just be honest. Tell the truth.
Yeah.
More often than not, tell the truth, be honest, and you will live a very, very adventurous life.
Yeah.
And that's it. It literally, it's no more complex than that. If you have truth in service of love and you tell the truth, you will live a quite beautiful life, and it'll also be very, very adventurous. And some people will be very receptive of it and appreciative of it. Some people will take it in a way that you didn't intend them to take it, but that is part of the journey. It's part of the process. But I heard Dr. Jordan Peterson say that if you want to live the most adventurous life, tell the truth, and it just made so much sense. And I've been trying to do that.
Yeah.
I've been trying to do that because we were talking about self-discovery, and I've done a lot of that, and it's kind of led me to discover my 5 top virtues that I feel like I want to flourish towards. And then so like I've gone through this kind of process. It's like finding your top 5 virtues, your unique virtues that you want to flourish through. And then that leads you to implementing a personal philosophy that you want to embody. And then that leads you to a massive transformative purpose. So like all 3 things line up, and you're trying to line these 3 things up every day in your life with every action, every word, every moment. That's not possible, but you aim to do that. And so when you're going through and kind of in the midst of your self-discovery journey, you're going to find out these things about yourself. And then it's much easier to say no to things that don't line up with your values, because you absolutely 100% are crystal clear on your values. Like if I was getting robbed in the street and someone had a knife to my throat and they said, "What the fuck is your personal philosophy?" and I'll let you go, I'll be like, done. I know it. Because that's how crystal clear you have to be on who you are and what you want.
Yeah.
And so, to give you some context, my 5 top unique virtues, see if you agree with them, see if I live by them, are kindness, gratitude, zest, which is like energy, truth or honesty, and hope. Those are my top 5 unique
I would
virtues.
agree with those.
Yeah,
those are good ones.
I think those are good. I like zest. Energy is good.
That's a good one.
And then that leads me to my personal philosophy, which is what I want to live by, which is to lead with love and empathy. And then it leads to my massive transformative purpose, which is like my big purpose, which is to end mental suffering. So all 3 of those things basically are now how I live my life. Every action I make, every decision, every tweet, every social media post, everything is run through that algorithm. And I'm not perfect at it, but more often than not, it lines up.
But that's so important that you have that.
Right.
Because you can be intentional about everything.
Everything.
About your friends, about your time, about what you do, about your morning routine. Absolutely everything is intentional towards those goals. Yep. And those goals will happen because you're so intentional and you're doing everything you can towards them. And I think everybody needs that. And everybody, like, the most important thing you can take the time to do is just that, is to take the time to set aside to focus on what are your values, what are your virtues, what is your big mission. And I think if people don't know that, then why do you have the job that you do? Like what are you working towards? What's your kind of goal in your life? What makes you feel purposeful and passionate? And those 2 things are super, super important. So anyway, that's very inspiring that you have that. But you embody it though in everything that you do. So I think that's why it's inspiring towards people. Yeah. And but it's also a little bit sad. Like I feel like we should have been taught at a younger age in school, maybe high school, about how to do that. Yeah. And why didn't our teacher, or anybody ever sit down and say, okay, we're going to focus on ourselves this week. Figure out what are your values? What's your mission for your life? What are those things? And so, we should do that. We should create a course in school or something, and people should go into at least the working world, or pay to go to a university for an education based on what maybe that mission is. And it might change as you get older.
Of course, everything can evolve and grow and adapt, but at least you have something to build certain sections of your life off of, because each section of your life, you're doing something different. Right. And then, in your back half of your life, your work life, your parent life, your whatever life that is, you have that thing. Maybe your massive transformative purpose is to be the best mom in the world, or the best dad in the world, or the best parent in the world. That's a fucking amazing purpose. Amazing. Right? So what if that's that? Or what if it's what yours is, right? What you said in your bio. Right? Building a company that, helps people and the planet in a positive way. That's massive. Yeah, it's a big goal, but I have to have attainable goals to get there. You have the smaller ones in between, which you've already got, right? You're going to school. Yeah. But it's important to, figure it out. And I know James Clear from Atomic Habits, he has a good... We like him on this podcast. Yeah, we do. Yeah. But he has a good template, kind of what you were talking about. It's I'm a visual person, so I like he kind of uses bubbles. So he has little bubbles at the bottom, which lead to more bigger bubbles, which lead to medium bubbles, which leads to one big bubble. So my one big bubble is to be the CEO of a company that creates positive social change for people on the planet. Yeah. Right? So what do I think I need to do in order to get there? So I have small goals, and then you work your way up. So I think at least, you can be purposeful every single day. What can I do, tomorrow to be 1% better in terms of my mind, body, and soul? Yeah. But also in terms of getting a little bit closer to my overarching mission and my dream, whether that's in my career or what I want to do in my life. Yeah. So. Yeah. Amazing. When you come back on this podcast, we'll hammer out those. Okay. We'll have your top 5 virtues. Yes. Which you might already know them now. I think I need to define them a little. But we'll give you a little time, and then whatever your personal philosophy is. Okay. And then I think you already have your massive transformative purpose, but the next time we have you on, it might be different. All right. So I love it. Now I'm giving you the challenge of figuring out those first 2. All right. Okay.
And everyone listening too, that's their challenge as well.
Oh, they hear me talk about this every week.
Maybe they already did it.
I'm hoping that I get some, like, one of the best parts about this podcast is that when people message me and they tell me that my words or things I've said or things I encourage people to do have had a tremendously positive impact on their life.
Sure.
It, yeah. It's, yeah. I don't even have a lot of words to say how it makes me feel, but it makes me feel like it's fucking worth it, you know? Like, the pain, the grief, the struggle, the hardship, it's all worth it. And I hope people hear that, right? Your pain, your struggle, your hardship, it's worth it if you know, it's worth it. That's it. Right? Okay. I'm about to get choked up. Anyways. Excuse me. So I have one final question for you.
Okay.
Since I think we're hitting about an hour and a half here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We're gonna have
Chat
a part.
all day.
We're gonna have a part 2 for sure.
Okay.
Maybe we'll be in Boston next time.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Which would be cool. It definitely won't be in this apartment.
No.
Well, that's actually not true because I might want to do one before you leave.
Okay.
Which is like in 6 months.
Yeah, we have time.
So yeah, it'll be in this apartment.
Okay.
Because I want to catch you before you leave.
All right, fair enough.
Because I'm gonna just guess, a wild guess, that this episode is gonna be very popular.
Oh, I would hope so.
I'd
be honored.
The one with Sam was really quite popular.
Oh, good.
The most recent one, the most popular one was the sex, relationships, and porn one. Sam's up there. That was his 3rd time on the pod. Oh. He's a great guest. People really like him.
I'll try to beat Sam.
He's an incredible guy.
And I think this one wonderful.
I think this one is going to be great. And I think our friends are going to watch it too. And hopefully they're encouraged and inspired by the same things. Good. But my last final question is not on your sheet, which we didn't even, I got some stuff here. If you see on YouTube, I highlighted some of the green stuff that we talked about, and I wrote some stuff here, but we have much more to discuss.
I told you, I like to draw. I like to write it out.
I love this. But my one final question is, what are you most excited about right now in your life?
What am I most excited about? Well, I think I'm most excited about, I have about 6 months left of this Dallas chapter. And I kind of have like a bucket list almost of like things I want to do in Dallas.
Yeah.
And I wrote some of it down, some of it's in my brain, but I think I love having things to look forward to. And so I think I'm really excited about just taking advantage of the rest of my time in Dallas and having a lot of fun and doing like wonderful things with like my incredible friends, such as yourself, that I've made here. And just really like building on those relationships and just like kind of like cherishing them. Because I know like, you know, nothing really like lasts forever. And it's funny when you know you're like, time is like quote unquote like limited or like running out. I just want to like maximize like every single day. And I know I can't do everything every day. And it's not so much about doing activities, but even like I wake up in this apartment and like I've never had, like everything's bigger in Texas. Like I've never had so much space. I don't even know what to do with it.
New York,
I couldn't even fill it with furniture.
Yeah.
So
that's why she doesn't have a TV.
I don't have a TV. Got this couch on Facebook
Well, I think
Market.
after listening to you talk for the last hour and a half, people can understand why you don't have a TV.
Yeah.
So you go do stuff.
I go do stuff.
You go to the park, you walk,
you
hang with friends, you read, you study, you work.
I try to meditate, I listen to podcasts, listen to music.
We should all take that example.
Today I was sitting on a bench and I saw a yellow butterfly.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Beautiful.
That's you. You're turning into a beautiful butterfly.
I know. I'm like, that's me. I'm like coming out of my cocoon. But anyway, that's what I'm most excited about is just like really taking advantage of my time here. And I literally wake up every single day in like this apartment that I've like built for myself and being like, I'm so proud of myself. Like I'm so proud that I've like created, because I think spaces can be like a sanctuary. And I'm like, I've created this like sanctuary for myself, but also like these connections around me and like being in this physical space of Dallas and like surrounded by like good friends. It's like a blessing. And I do feel very, very grateful every day. And so I just remind myself that every single day. I'm like, I'm not going to be in Dallas for much longer. So I just want to like, just be so like in love with it, in love every day. And I will kind of end with this as I read this quote the other day where it said, give every day the chance to be the best day of your life. And so I really try to embody that.
Wow. I said that was the last question. Okay, what you said just like got me flowing again. And I have another question for you. It's not really a question, I guess. Well, it is, sort of. But Tim Ferriss is a guy who has a podcast, amazing podcast. And he asked this question to his guests at the end of every episode. Okay. And I think it would be really nice for you to answer it. So he asked them, if you had a billboard that you could put up and it would be seen by millions, potentially billions of people, what would you put on that billboard?
Jeez.
I think I have one thought that you might put on there, but I also thought because that quote.
That was pretty good.
I thought that might go on the billboard. So
that could go on the billboard.
But
give every day the chance to be the best day of your life. I would put that on there. That's pretty good. I would also maybe, I don't know why this just popped into my head when you said that, but as soon as you asked me that question, what came to my mind was, remember your worth. And I don't know why that popped into my head, but I think I just like, I think I've been like inspired lately about like remembering that like what your assumption was, where you were like, everyone's doing their best, but you had a fact, and your fact was that everybody is on this.
Everyone holds intrinsic value.
Intrinsic value. Yeah, everyone holds deep intrinsic value. Thank you. So to me, like along those lines, it's like, remember your worth. Like I've been thinking about that a lot, like that sometimes we forget that like we're all here for a reason, and you are the way that you are like for a reason, and we do have value, we do have worth, and like I think we just forget sometimes like how worthy you are. Like you are worthy of having like a fabulous birthday party where you like make posters of your face and like decorate your whole house the color that you want, and like you are worthy of like having really wonderful friends. And you are worthy of giving your body good, nutritious food and going out for a walk and like seeing like the sunlight and like small joys. And like, you know, you're worthy of like waking up with like such gratitude about like where you live. And like no one's life is perfect. Everybody has struggles and everybody has things that like make them afraid or make them sad. But it's just like, I want people to know on that billboard when they see like, remember your worth, is like, you are so important. And you are so loved, and like you need to love yourself and like remember that. So that's what I would put for sure.
Fantastic. Amazing. If you want people to follow you on social media, where would they follow you?
Sure. I almost gave my LinkedIn.
That's a great one.
Sure. It's just my name. Yeah, my first and my last name.
Business-wise?
Hadley Haselmann, that's me. But I'm also on social media. Yeah, I think it's like Hadley Margot, my middle name.
Yeah.
But you'll find me when I'm a famous CEO one day.
Yeah, we'll link you in the show notes.
Cool.
Okay, so we're going to end with this quote from the Brené Brown Wholehearted Parenting Manifesto. Okay?
Okay.
Above all else, I want you to know that you are loved and lovable. You will learn this from my words and actions. The lessons on love are in how I treat you and how I treat myself. Thank you for watching episode 90, or viewing or listening to episode 90 of Jaxon Talks, everybody. This is an amazing episode. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Hadley will be back again for another part. We have much more to talk about, and can't wait to see what you do, how you change the world, where our friendship grows, where your relationship goes, and just everything that you're about, what you're doing, how you're impacting people's lives. And thank you.
I appreciate you.
Much love, guys. Talk to you next time.
Thanks for having me.
Nailed it.
Woohoo!
Nailed it. I hope we recorded.